Shalom everyone and Shavua Tov. We're here in Parashat VaYishlah. Parashat VaYishlah is a very tough parasha. Why is it a very tough parasha? The story is like this. Here we had in the last parasha, Parashat Vayetze, Yaakov leaves Beersheba, he goes to Haran, he goes to his liar, cheater, wizard, dark magician uncle. He marries 4 daughters of his. He comes back, he gets out, and he's on the gates of the promised land. Okay, so that's the end of the last parasha. This parasha starts VaYishlach Yaakov Malachim. He's just before entering the promised land, and the land of his that is promised to him, first of all. And it says VaYishlach Yaakov Malachim. The parasha starts in Genesis chapter 32, verse 4. VaYishlach Yaakov Malachim, and Yaakov is sending angels. El Esav to Esav, which is a whole story just about it. We'll come back to it, to the whole thing of the angels, hopefully. And he tells them to tell Esav, so there's a game of his messengers. Malachim in Hebrew could be angels, could be also messengers. He tells them to say to Esav, Ko amar avdecha Yaakov, and I'll make it short because we'll come back to it. And he's announcing to Esav, I'm your brother, I'm sorry, I came back, take my gifts and forgive me. Okay? Do you think that Esav forgave him? No. He comes with 400 warriors to kill him. That's kind of a conflict. While if you realize that Yaakov was with 4 women and 12 children and some slaves, this is a major crisis, life-threatening crisis. Somehow he gets out of it. Okay, is that over with for this parasha? No, they come down. They on the way. Remember, there's a famous story that Yaakov, before he meets Esav, he has a fight with the angel of the dark force the whole night. Do you think this is a little thing? No, it's not. He comes out of it limping, but somehow he survives. Okay? He comes out of the meeting with his brother. Okay. After he paid a lot of his fortune to Esau, that's not the big problem. The big problem is coming later on. Yaakov is going then to Shechem. He's coming into the city of Shechem, which is in the north of the Samaria. And then his daughter, Dinah, is being raped. And as a vendetta, his sons kill all the people of Shechem. On the flee from the vendetta, from the rest of the people around, Yaakov is running away all the way to his father. On the way south, in Bethlehem, on the entrance to Bethlehem, Rachel dies while giving birth to Benjamin. I think that's enough calamities for one parasha. I think that only one of them is enough to send somebody to many years of analysis and medications and trauma, post-trauma treatments and stuff like this, and maybe social security and all kinds of stuff like this. And we have all of them in one parasha. Okay? So that's basically the summary of the events of this parasha. There are lots of more stuff in this parasha, but the question is like this. Give me a break. You know, how much can a person bear? How much? You know, this is a lot. This is a lot. And not just a normal person, it's a lot. Even a person like Jacob, Jacob, he's a righteous person. He's a tzaddik. He's a great person. He's like higher than Abraham, Isaac, and together. Like we spoke about in the previous parashot, Abraham puts the ground for a human connection to chesed, loving kindness. This is a lot. Did he have a nice, easy life? No. How many calamities and crises did he go through? A lot. What about Isaac? It was not easy for him also, we read in the previous parashot. And now, Jacob, that comes out with his greatness of spirituality, and what you just name it, to become a role model. Then in this parasha, he gets the name Israel, right? He gets the name Israel. Does that make his life a little bit easier? No. No. And we ask again the question, so you'd ask me, you tell me that if you study spirituality and Kabbalah and you perform it and you apply it and you work on it and you make it part of your life, does that mean that your life is going to become easier? Yes. But that's not how the story tells us. These guys went through a lot of troubles. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of last week's parasha, what I was teaching. And we were saying that we're asking the same thing again, and I just want to repeat it because this is very important, because a lot of people go around with this thing. Why? Why me? Why that person was such a great human being? Why did he have to go through all this stuff? How do you understand, how do you figure out why, how many people just go around with why? Especially in our generation, because in our generation we are being somehow taught that life is supposed to be even. You know, you build a city right now, if it was mountains, they make everything, the ground, even so people don't have to climb. Everything has to be made easy. In schools today, competition is not allowed. Everybody gets the first prize. To make it even, to make it easy. You know what? Is it easy? Even if the whole world will try to make it easy for you, it's not going to be easy. Why it can't be easy? And the answer is, we didn't want it easy. And the answer is very simple. When the universe has been created, everything was made beautiful, easy, for free, in an instant. That's why everybody wants it easy and beautiful in an instant. It was like this, but we couldn't stand it. Why? Because we had the image of the Creator within us. And what does it mean, the image of the Creator within us? It means that we had that craziness, and we still have it, that we couldn't have it just because we have it. We wanted to be able to create it. Something out of nothing. Light out of darkness. Sweet out of bitterness. These are the rules. And when you study Kabbalah, you realize there's nothing you can do about it. These are the rules. And that's why there was this great argument between Beit Shammai, the school of Shammai, and Beit Hillel, the school of Hillel. We're talking about more than 200 years ago. The question was like this: was it worthy for a human being to be created, or was it not? And they argue for 2 years. And Beit Hillel, that everything is like, they just try to paint everything with optimistic colors. Says, yes, it's worthwhile. And Beit Shammai says, no, the pain doesn't worth it. And what, after 2.5 years of arguments and discussion, they come out with the most amazing Jewish outlook at life. And they say, you know what? It was much better if we were not created. However, we're already here, and there's nothing else we can do about it but fixing ourselves. What means fixing ourselves? Which means we're here. You know what? You're right. It was much better if this world has not been created in the first place. But I will tell you a secret. You want to get it out? You want to get out of it? Committing suicide won't help you. Why? Because you'll come in another next round, in another lifetime, and another lifetime, till you're going to do it right. So they say, we agree. If we were not created, we wouldn't even know about it, and we wouldn't suffer about it. But we're here already, and the only way to stop the misery is to fix ourselves. No other way. So get to work. Do it already. Complaining won't make it shorter. It's going to make it longer and much more painful. So maybe you better just start doing it. What does it mean? So I said last week, we started it with the story of Yaakov. Still, it's not easy for Yaakov. And the story is like this, that when we speak about the purpose of creation, the Midrash, not the Zohar, the Midrash, which is the all kinds of stories and about, but it's like a hint about what the message of this world is. It was written, the Midrash it's something like over 2,000 years old. And it was written some 2,000 years old by the sages. And it says, like in a legend, when a person dies, he goes up to heaven. He comes to the throne, stands in front of God, doomsday. Okay? That's his judgment day. And God says, were you honest? How did you treat your fellow beings? Okay, and then if a person says, yes, I was pretty okay. So it says, did you follow the Torah? Did you follow the rules? And after he says that, so did you study? So the person says, yes. Then, did you study really deep? And the person says, yes. And then God is asking him, did you watch the great creation I made? Did you watch Merkava and Genesis? How the universe is really structured? Did you? And the person will say, I was never told about that. I was told that if, my mother said, you be honest, you just be hardworking, you build a family, you just follow the rules, and everything will be great. And life will be good. And you go to heaven, and you go just directly to heaven because you just performed everything. And what this Midrash Mishlei, chapter 10 says, no. God says, so who did I create all of this like huge, huge universes of pleasure, if not for you? And you just wanted to get by. You just wanted to go by the book. I didn't create you for that. And then Midrash says, and the sages are saying, you want to know what's Gemilut Chasadim? Charity, what charity really is about? It's about when you enjoy the creation to its utmost, you're doing charity with the Creator. Because the Creator can say, finally they got it. I didn't create the work so you work hard all your life and just say, just to get by, I was okay, I didn't hurt anyone, and I just had some nice moments, and that's okay. And God says, this is not just the Zohar, guys. This is everywhere. You were created for heavens. We were created for magic. We were created for greatness, not just to get by. And that's why we have to understand there is a problem. It's a built-in problem for whoever wants to get by. You won't be able to do that. You just try to be mediocre and to live like claw under the radar. It's not going to work. Why? Because nobody grows bigger and expands its vessel when things are nice and easy and you get by. Doesn't work this way. And I'll explain it. Rabbi Isaac Luria gives us this message by explaining about the two kinds of light that human beings experience. One is called Or Pnimi, internal light, and one is called Or Mekif, surrounding light. What is internal light? When a person has a challenge to deal with, and you fight with this, and you make all the effort to deal with it, and you finally master the problem, and you turn the negativity into positivity, you turn the calamity into an opportunity, into growth, you achieve fulfillment. Why? Because you take the power and the process and the place of being a creator. You create something out of nothing. You create light out of darkness. You create positive out of negative. And it's yours. And when it's yours, you get this kind of fulfillment, a feeling of a masterhood. It's mine. I did it. And you know what? It gives a person a self-esteem. It gives a person that fulfillment that stays forever. And you know what? That becomes the baseline of the person's daily feeling when he gets up in the morning, when he deals with issues. It's a baseline. It's like the previous challenges you overcame and you mastered become your baseline because it's a fulfillment that it's a given. You start the day with it. It's called the internal light. Of course, if you have a lot of internal light, you have a higher level of self-esteem, and that means you have much more patience towards other people and towards any kind of obstacles, because your vessel is kind of getting that feeling that, you know what, do not get so anxious about when things are not going your way, because if you put the effort, you'll overcome. But the problem gets like this: if you're trying to get by and just to become a mediocre human being, there's a problem. Because the problem is called the surrounding light. What is a surrounding light? The surrounding light, says Rabbi Ezekiel, this is the light that the Creator wants to give you, and He didn't take it yet. Why? Because you were trained and conditioned on something small. But the Creator doesn't see you small. He sees you great. He sees you big. And it can't accept the idea that you're trying just to minimize your life into something small and comfortable. And what happens? According to Rabbi Ezekiel, this is the cause of our troubles. Why? Because what happens when a big light, a big force, tries to get into a small space? Our desires, our vision about ourselves. What happens? You know what happens? It's called pressure, stress. Something big wants to come to something small. You know what happens? Either you explode, or it runs over you, it crashes you. So what do? You change. So that's why when you study Kabbalah, you learn that when things are very, very stressful and you feel the pressure and you want to explode, the first thing you do to solve it is what? Do something for something else. Do something for other people. Why? Because the moment you are focusing on others, you immediately expand yourself, because right now you're not limited just to the few kilos or pounds of your body. You've expanded. You care for other people too. In the beginning, it could be family, friends, community, nation, earth, all of humanity. But the bigger you care about others, the bigger you expand your vessel. And you know what happens? The pressure becomes work, becomes achievement. The pain becomes achievement, become growth. You stretch, but you have to work with it. Because if you're going to try to work against it, the pain is going to be unbearable till you explode. And you know, some people under pressure, they fall apart. What Israelis say, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Pressure. And if you look at the history of Israel, that's exactly the whole story. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you grow. So what do? You have a choice: to die, to let it kill you, or to use it, to go with it. And then when you expand your vessel, the surrounding light becomes your internal light. So when you go through pressure in your life, the purpose of the pressure is not to make you miserable. Misery is a choice. We have to admit it. We have to work it out. Misery is a choice. Either you're miserable or you expand. And when you expand, it's not misery. You know, when people go to the gym, if you don't work out till it's painful, till your muscles are burning, you don't expand. So either you can be miserable and you cry, or you're proud that finally you're stretching out and you have some achievement, and you can feel that you are different, that you can climb the stairs much easier than before. You can do all kinds of stuff that you couldn't do before. Why? Because it's stretched, but it doesn't happen easy. But in the small stuff, but even in the big stuff. So when we ask the question, why does Yaakov has to be facing such horrible issues? You know, your brother wants to kill you. That's not a little thing. He comes with 400 warriors, and you have only 4 women and 12 children. It's like, God, that's it, what you have for me? With all the righteousness, whatever I did all my life, you know, This is the mitzvah and this is what I get for it? Is that what Yaakov is doing? No. He knows one thing. Everything is for the good. And this is just when I feel that pain and pressure, it looks like it's the end of the world. It's never the end of the world. It depends on me. When I agree that it will kill me, you know what? It will kill you. Then you have to come next lifetime and experience the same thing all over again. Till you don't let it kill you anymore, but you use the same power, the same stress, the same force to grow, to expand. So, misery is not a choice. Misery is just delaying the inevitable. What's the inevitable? We are supposed to be divine. We're supposed to experience endless joy, levels that are beyond anything you can experience in all the physical realm of whatever you name it. It's like whatever humanity is trying to create, right? Food, it's all nonsense relatively to the pleasure waiting for us, connecting to the surrounding light that is waiting for us. But for that you have to give up the beastly needs and the narrow looking, the narrow, which is called nefesh, which is, little desires and little happiness stuff, which is not nothing, but it's not everything. It's not everything. It's not what we're here for. So whatever you're going to achieve in the physical world, let's say there's nothing wrong having a nice, comfortable life financially. But if you say, oh, this is amazing, and then your surrounding light will say, that's all? That's all? And you have this bug. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's missing? What's missing? It's not all. And then it will push you. And that's why we can go into one of the most amazing parts of the Zohar, which is in the Zohar, in the Sulam. Perush Sulam on the Zohar, verse 43. Okay? And it says, VaYishuv HaMalachim El Yaakov, so the messengers that Yaakov is sending to Esau are coming back, Lemo, and they say, this is a quote from the Torah itself. Okay, that's in chapter 32 in Genesis, and that's verse 7. Okay? VaYishuv HaMalachim, and they come back, and they say, we came to your brother, and he says, Esav, to Esau, like he has a lot of brothers. He has only one brother, right? Twin brother. V'gam olech likrata, and he's also walking towards you to welcome you. V'arbamot ishimo, he has 400 warriors coming with him. Little thing. Okay. So says the Zohar, Keivan da'amar banu lachicha lo yadana de Yosav. Since he says, we came to your brother, why do they have to add Esau? We know he has only one brother. Did he have any other brothers? No, he did not. It means we came to your brother. You think that he repented and changed his ways, and right now he's like, he really found the truth. It's a different Esau. No, he's the same Esau. Lavachi, says the Zohar. No, it's not. He is the wicked, evil Esau like he was. But you think he didn't change? He's coming towards you to welcome you. You think he's coming to welcome you with, with all kinds of nice welcoming? He coming by himself to welcome you as a brother to brother? Love? No. 400 warriors with him. This is a war. This is a war. And the sages are asking, why did they have to say it this way to Yaakov? And the answer, listen to this answer. This is Midrash that is written everywhere. Rashi, Rashi took it from the Talmud, from the Midrashim, it's in the Zohar, everywhere. משום שהקדוש ברוך הוא רוצה תמיד בתפילת הצדיקים ומתעטר בתפילתם. Because the Creator, the Holy Blessed be He always wishes for the prayer of the righteous. And He takes these prayers and makes crowns from them. He has nothing else. Just asking me to pray for Him. Like, what does He need my prayers for? And the answer is, we said before, the answer is that what happens when we pray, okay, some people use the prayer as a way of complaining. Okay, this is not the prayers we're talking about. Some people use the prayers as a matter of argument. You know, God, I prayed 3 times a day, I did this, I gave some tzedakah, I gave some charity, I did this, I did this, you know, this is what you give me for what I've done. This is negotiation on nothing. This is not the prayer we're talking about. The prayer we're talking about is the prayer that you give up your box, your logic, your ego, whatever preconceptions you had before. And during the prayer, you simply transform yourself to get closer to the Creator. Why is it that you have to get closer to the Creator? Because that's the purpose of the pressure. During the prayer, we're supposed to attach ourselves to the Creator. That's the purpose of the prayer. When we attach to the Creator, we ask for help. And I said last week, and I just made a little mistake last week, the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous is that understanding that I'm helpless, that I don't have the knowledge and the tools to get out of my trouble. And that's, if you start praying and you're coming from a place of power to the Creator, you know, forget it. It's like, there's no negotiation over here. The moment you pray from a place that I'm no one, I am no one, I don't know how to get out of it. And especially don't try to give the Creator some ideas about how to solve the problem. Why? Because remember what Einstein used to say? The logic that got you into the trouble can't get you out of it. So don't use that logic that got you into the trouble, your small, tiny, limited prison. Don't use that logic in order to tell God, okay, God, I want you to solve the problem this way. Why? Because you're using the problem in order to get a solution? No. With the same logic, you get just a bigger problem. The purpose of the prayer is to lift off to a place in which you let go of the old you and you expand yourself to a new you. The purpose of the prayer is to transcend yourself. Transcending yourself means letting go of all what you think, what is right, what is logical, what's supposed to be. And when you do that, you open up. So you allow the light of the Creator to come in. And that's why the Creator is clapping his hands, like, you know, his hands, and saying, finally, I can't force you to be happy. I need you to ask for it. And now when you ask for it, which means when you allow yourself to expand, and you say, okay, I don't know how would that happen, but please, I want it to be okay. You know, some people, they want a solution. They want it the way they insist on it. You know what happens? The solution will pass by in front of you, and you'll miss it because you're focusing on the problem, not on the solution. So the purpose of the prayer is to expand our vessel so we can receive more, so we can enjoy more. So the basic of prayer is there is a solution waiting for me, and it's much bigger that I can recognize. So why am I in trouble? Why is that I have to ask? Because I have to ask in order to expand. So there's this famous story. I think I told this story many times, but we need that story again. Of the Baal Shem Tov, we're talking about the great Kabbalist, that he turned Kabbalah into something that is for everyone. That was in the 18th century in Eastern Europe. He lived in the Ukraine. And he affected a lot of people in Eastern Europe for centuries. Now, and the whole Hasidic movement is based on the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. And there was this time that he goes to this place, to this town, and he comes with all his students, like a whole army of students, and they come Friday to this guy that was not that rich. He was a pretty poor guy, and they come and say, we want to stay here for Shabbat. But you have to remember, we have a big Shabbat. And a big Shabbat means 3 kinds of fish, 3 kinds of meat, every kind, lots of salads, lot of this. And the guy was a just simple, honest, beautiful guy. And he says, of course. He says to himself, like, how am I going to do it? Okay, but everything is for the good. So he sells all his furniture, whatever he had in the house, he sells it. And for the seller, he says, after the guests will go, Sunday morning, I'll give it all to you. So he makes this amazing, beautiful Shabbat for the Baal Shem Tov and his people. And the students of the Baal Shem Tov are like amazed, they're shocked, because they know that the Baal Shem Tov was eating a little bit and meditating and teaching and learning and singing most of the time. This Shabbat, he was trying to make sure there's no food left. He was finishing everything, and then ask anything left. Only after Shabbat was over, they made another meal, and when the Baal Shem Tov was sure there was no food left in the house, he said, thank you, it was amazing Shabbat, and they left. The students were in shock. They never seen their master this way. And they went away. And a lot of people had this thing, how could he do that for such a humble, poor person? Years later, the Baal Shem Tov says to his students, I know, guys, that you have a problem, you have a question. I want you to have the answer. Let's go for another trip. And they come to the same town, they come to this in front of the same house, and this house is not there anymore. It's a beautiful, beautiful house standing there. They come out they come down and they knock on the door, and the same guy opens the door, but this time he's wearing really nice, precious clothes. And he says, oh, amazing. I was waiting for you guys. I have a lot of money now. I can, how many kinds of meat do you want? And how many kinds? And the master says, no, just a little herring is enough. We don't need anything. And they sit to eat, and they study, and they sing, and finally the students explode. And it's like, Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi, what's the story over here? What's going on over here? So the Baal Shem Tov says to the landlord, to the host, tell us what happened after we left. And the guy says, I mortgaged everything I had. I sold everything I had. And when you guys left, there was nothing in the house, but really nothing. I thought there was nothing. And I was sitting on the floor, no furniture, no chairs. The kids were crying. And I started to pray to God. I said, God, how come I can't afford hosting guests properly for Shabbat, and I cannot feed my kids? It's impossible. There must be a way out. And I cried and I cried and I prayed, there must be another way. And suddenly there's a knock on the door. So I wipe the tears and I get up from the floor and I go to the door and open, and there's a old farmer at the door. The guy says, can you sell me just a little glass of vodka? And the guy said, I had nothing in the house. They ate and drank everything. But, I checked and I found a little bit. There was, in one of the barrels, there was a little bit of it. So I poured for him. I gave the farmer. He sat and he drank. He paid for me. And then he said, can I have some more? This time I really had nothing. So I ran to the neighbors. And I bought from them some vodka. And I gave him. And he drank and he drank and he drank. And after a while he said, the farmer said, you look like a nice, honest guy. I want to make a deal with you. I'll tell you my life story. I worked very hard all my life. Very hard. And I raised 3 big sons. They were just dumb as dumb can be. And just not long ago, a few days ago, they decided, why do they need to have me in the house and eat? They threw me out of the house and took everything for themselves. and I became homeless after I worked all my life, and my sons took everything. And now they're fighting with each other about the inheritance. But I'm not that dumb as my sons. And most of my money are hid in a secret place in the forest. Let's make a deal. I'll adopt you as my son. I live in your house. I'll pay for everything. And when I die, you have everything for yourself. So I said, why not? I gave him a room. I treated him like my father. And a few years later, and meanwhile, he paid for everything. He paid for the food, he paid, and we served him, and he paid for our food, and we managed to live like this. A few years later, he passed away, and we got all the money. So I renovated the house, and I opened a bigger business, and now I have the money. I can have many guests every Shabbat. So the students look at the Baal Shem Tov and say, what's going on over here? And so the Baal Shem Tov says, look, when I was going and traveling in the upper worlds, I realized that this guy, there was a treasure waiting for him, a lifestyle of pleasure and cleanliness waiting for him. The problem is, I asked, so why he doesn't get it? And the guys in heaven said, he never asked for it. So I had to force him to ask. And you know what? When he asked, he got it. Go back to our story. Jacob had to fight against his brother. His brother wanted to kill him. And you know what? The brother was a mean, evil guy. Why couldn't Jacob dial 911? Oh, just a little problem. We're talking about 2000 BCE. There was no 911 yet. You know what? How many times you cannot call 911 because you have no proof that you are the good guy, and sometimes you have the proof that you are the good guy. You know what? The other guys, they have a better lawyer. Is it just that, a legend I invented? No. You know that being right is not enough in this world. We spoke about it last week. Not just it's not enough. There's a lot of Esau around us, so much, not like it used to be in the time of Jacob, but there's still a lot of Esau around us. And if being right, by the way, to remind you, I said it many times, there's no mitzvah in the Bible, in the Torah, saying to be right. Why? The Creator never tells us to be right. He tells us to be humble, to be sharing, to be loving, to be caring, to pray. What? It doesn't tell us to be right, because being right is not a virtue. Because being right, who will listen to you? I'm right, and you guys are wrong. Ha, ha, ha. You're kidding somebody. That never helped anyone. So you see that these guys in front of you are Esau. You have to deal with it. And you have to find a way to deal with it. And being right is not enough, because God is not going to come from heaven and save you. Just being right is not enough to get the help. Oh yes, you need to ask for help. Being right is not justifying it. You have to ask for it. And asking for it means on the base that I know that all of this that I need to ask for help is because I need to change. I need to ascend. I need to create a miracle in my worldview. And being right is not an achievement. Yaakov is facing the same story. We told about it in the previous parashot. Last week, and the week before, and the week before, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all of this, they never insist on being right. They always solve the problem out of the box. Jacob sees that Esau wants to kill him. What does he do? So as we said, he's sending him first presents. Why? Because even evil people, they love to be bribed. Okay? So what can you do? Bribe them. Smile to them. Use their weaknesses. The bigger the ego, the more susceptible these people are to ego. Which means you can bribe them. Why is that a problem? But they don't deserve it. Yeah, but maybe when you just make yourself humble, maybe this is why it's happening to you. And being right is not about being humble. You cannot be humble and right in the same place, in the same time. It doesn't go together, right? Being humble is about giving up being right, and it's about survival. And for survival, being right is out of the question. Okay? That's one thing. When you pray, is being humble not just to others. You pray to be humble in front of God, and that means that you're not right in front of God also. It's like, but God, I did the best I could. Yes? So why are you in trouble? Why are you calling me? It means that there's a big light trying to come in, and you don't let it in. So maybe you have to let go of your box and expand and let go of being right. You know what happens? How many times we let go of being right and we let ourselves be humble, and we let go of everything and we let the light take us somewhere. And when we open our eyes, we realize that our perception and our belief systems till that moment were so crooked, so stupid, so dumb. You know, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but whoever grows up spiritually has to come to these moments when he looks like you look backward and you say like, was I thinking this way? Oh, this is shameful. How could I even think like this? By the way, if you don't have moments like this, you stay the same thing all your life. That's horrible. So what did you eat so much food all these years? Why you just eliminated so much CO2, carbon dioxide, so many, and you didn't change, you didn't do anything with that, you stayed the same you. What a waste. What a waste. No, this is not the goal. And prayer, when it's coming from really that bottom of the heart place of, God, I want a solution. I want it a win-win situation for everyone. And I don't know how. When you come to this place, there's space for the solution to come in. And it will come. It will come. How? None of your business. You're not running this planet. I don't know if you realize that, but you're not running this planet. And you're not making the rules either. Okay? So, time to get it also. So when you let go, you let God in. And when God's come in, then it comes with a different logic. And that logic has different ways. And here comes a story that when Esau finally approaches Jacob, and his rage is turning into compassion, and he hugs Jacob and kisses him. So yes, there are some stories about why Esau is crying. He's crying because he tries, but that's good for kids in the kindergarten. We're not there anymore. That Esau was crying because he tried to bite Jacob's neck, and the neck became strong like marble, and Esau broke his teeth. So that's as a miracle, that's good for kids like, I don't know, 5 years old is enough, maybe 4. But we grew up already. I think that most of our crowd right now is above 5, maybe above 6, okay? And Rashi is saying that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, we know it's halacha, it's the law, that Esau hates Jacob. We always find ourselves facing those Esau. They're mean, they're wrong, but they are more powerful than you are. And being right is not going to give you the way out. You have to find a way out. And you have to find a creative way out. You have to be smarter, you have to be humble, and you have to open up for miracles. And what happens is that when Jacob sends all of that light that he gets from his prayer to Esau, Rabbi Shimon says, we know it's a law that Esau hates Jacob. Okay, you're right, he's wrong, but he's more powerful. What are you going to do about it? But because Jacob sent so much light, even Esau wants the light. And that's why Rabbi Shimon says, something changed in his mind. He had a change of mind, change of heart. And he kissed him and he hugged him with all his heart. For that moment. But that was enough for Jacob to turn the whole story around. And he says, he makes a pact with Esau. You go home, I go to father, and we're okay. and Esau didn't bother Jacob anymore. How did he do that? With a lot of wits, thinking out of the box. And the story is like, I won't go into too much, but when he sends all these gifts to Esau, as we said, you use the most fragile part of a person that is evil. He is egocentric. He cannot see bigger than his own self. So when you bribe him, you give him a compliment, you smile to him, you give him a present, you give him some chocolate, you give him some money, whatever. He changes sooner or later. But Jacob is not just doing that. He says, I got all of this after being so many years with Lavan. And the Zohar says the whole world knew that Lavan was the biggest, most wicked warlock in the world. And Esau is saying, like, I don't know. It's like, what? If he's such a great warlock, why is he sending me gifts? Why is he apologizing if he's so powerful? But if he's so powerful, but if he has all of this stuff, he's very, very powerful. Okay? So why does he even thinking about talking to me? He can kill me with just one curse. You know what? The first thing you do in order to have a victory over your enemy is to make him confused. And Yaakov is doing it in a good way. He's like, if you don't, you're not afraid of me, so why are you giving gifts? You want him to be in question. Then when he bows down to Esau 7 times, Esau was so stressed out, this guy can kill me any moment. So, he's not going to kill me. So he's so relieved and he's so mixed up. Yaakov is winning over him. You need a lot of wisdom. A lot of trickery. But what was the result? Nobody dies, right? Esau got richer. Yaakov got his life, and he was rich anyway. And finally, how did both came out of it? That was a win-win, right? Sometimes we spoke about it last week. Sometimes to get people who are not in the right mindset to cooperate with you, you need to be right. You need to be smarter than them. And in order for them to get the best for them, simply if you're a parent and you have kids, you know that you sometimes have to cheat them in order to get them to do the right thing. And you can't tell them the right thing because they are not in the mindset. So you just take them around. Life is not about being straight and about being right, as I said before. You have always to find different ways to get out of the box. And that's very, very important. And this is what this parasha is about. And the parasha is about that all of this, what's happening to you, it's happening for a good reason, because it's all happening so you can grow. It's not happening to hurt you. It's not happening because God hates you. Chas v'shalom. That will never happen. To come to the mindset that you know that everything is for the good, and you just have to pray to find a way. If you didn't find a way, it means you didn't try hard enough. Yagata umatzata. Try this way, try that way. Try, ask for advices, ask other people. You'll find a way. Why? Because that's what life is about. Stretching, growing, and you know what? Only through hard pressure, only through breaking some people's mindset into pieces, when you put yourself together, you realize that what you got together is much bigger than what you had before. Only when you believe in the good, only when the God you pray for is that God that wants to give you much, much more than you ever could imagine. When you know there's so many treasures waiting for you, but you have to ask for them. Otherwise, you won't get it. You have to ask for the wisdom. You have to ask for the money. You have to ask for the power. And you have to ask for the control. If it's coming out of your own mind, it's always going to be limited. It will never be enough. If it's coming from above, it will always be surprisingly, excitingly, so much better. That you say, like, how did I limit myself to so little when all of this was waiting for me? How come I was so fighting for this little thing I had, and now when it's broken, there's place for so much bigger? And life is all about one thing, our relationships with the light. There's nothing else. All what's going on, you cannot keep it. You know, I don't know if you know that, but you cannot keep things forever. They break. They disappear. They become too small. They become too old. And you know what? And when you die, you can't take them with you. Can't. Remember the story about Pharaoh? He thought he could take it with him. Where is Pharaoh now? He's a public property in the museum, right? That's what happens to the person who thought he can own it all. People that you love, can you own them? No, you can't take them with you to the grave. You can't force them to stay with you all the time. Either they go and look for their own lives, or they just die, whatever. You can't. So what is that is yours forever? That growth that you achieve, that gives you the true fulfillment. Only the internal light that is turning the surrounding light into eternal light, only this is the true fulfillment that stays and lasts. And that happens when we are forced to get out of our comfort zone. When you have these look like calamities, but they're basically opportunities for us to let go of the old us and to let in the bigger us. This is a big lesson. It's a big message. And all our lives is just about working on that and that alone, because that's the only thing that stays. And every time we have that fight and we win, what do I mean we win? We found ourselves bigger, more excited, more light, full of light. The baseline is bigger now, is higher. Our outlook is much wider. We expand and we expand, and our relationships with the Creator are becoming closer and closer and closer. And that's what life is about, and nothing but it. Thank you, and good luck with that. B'atzlacha.